Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another scene from the living world of darkness, Rage Across New York. Tea time! Wherein, on the Sept of the Green, 10 Point is yet again making her way around to the secondary salt porch. The backup Silverfang salt porch, wherein Jacob tends to be waiting with tea, because it's about that time. So yeah, she will come around in Hamid, her usual barefoot, fairly chill situation. And as usual, as she's approaching the porch, we'll go ahead and reach up and take off her bells and tuck them in her bag. And I guess the only real difference of note, at least on the approach, is that she has a new silver scar. Lucky her. It doesn't seem to be an overly intense one, but she already had the one line kind of across her nose and across a cheek. But now she has a new one running down from just alongside the bottom of her nose, down over her lips and to her chin. Because why not? It's definitely a small kind of controlled cut, but it's there and it's new. But yeah, she'll do her usual thing. She'll pause, kneel briefly at the base of the stairs, and then we'll go ahead and ease herself back up, because this is a matter of kind of rote, and we'll go ahead and move up to join him.
There's always time for tea. Jacob is there on wait, did you call it secondary Silverfang salt porch? I'm
oh yeah. You think that you think you can rank up with the Seeker salt porch? Come on.
Damn straight. Anyway. Yeah, Jacob is there. He looks he's still drinking, he still poured out tea in a spectacularly classy fashion with this lovely tea set of posh everything. And it's all made from the loveliest of fine china. And yeah, he will invite you to take a seat as always.
Yep, she moves up finally again in the seat he usually offers. There have been times that she has opted to sit on the floor in a belligerent way, but not today. She will take her seat. She will let him pour her tea and whatnot. She will again take that kind of that almost guilty pleasure in setting up her tea how she fucking likes it, because yeah, these are special occasions where she gets to make her own tea. It's nice.
Oh man, you're pretty sure there's one with the Super Mario logo on it. You want that one? No, it's normal. It's lovely. It's all fancy and nice and things.
Oh, she gets to touch the good china.
It's the good china that doesn't have any filthy cultural references attached to it.
Of course not.
Of course not. And yeah, he will say, "Hey again, 10 Point. How you doing?" He looks a little bit tired, as stated before. A little bit. Perhaps this posture just isn't quite as upright as it normally is, or perhaps he's just a little slower to just a little slower, sluggish movements in general. Sluggish, maybe, not slow.
Just those little tells.
Yeah.
That he's a bit on the sleepy side, slightly underslept. It's a problem. She'll look over at him brightly enough. I've been doing better of late, Raya. The hard times are passing, at least for now, it seems. There's always more to do. But I guess the worst of it at least for me, is finally coming to an end.
Yeah, we've passed some pretty significant hurdles recently.
We have.
Dealt with the Entron threat and Spiral threat proper.
Dealt with the spiral threat twice over, right?
And finally getting some of our kin back on track.
Indeed. And better for the Sept as a whole once all the kin are settled again in their lives.
Hmm.
And she'll kind of reach over and set her hand on his in a consoling fashion. I know it is hard work, but we appreciate what you're doing. Not all of us can.
Thanks. Appreciate the sentiment. Can't get everyone back to where they need, but I can. I know. At least I'm holding my corner. Felix, I think, might have a better time getting people back to work. Larger industries he can tap into. Not everyone can work for the media or the police.
And she'll give a nod. Of course, but even if not all, being able to do this for even so large a chunk of them, between you and Felix Raya and the others, it can't be questioned as a gesture of effort and goodwill on their part.
Sorry, what? Oh, see. Sorry, what was a gesture of goodwill to who?
Getting that many, like, essentially there's hundreds of kin in need of help, but
Yeah.
the fact that between the lot working together, they can get such a large chunk back out into the workforce, or at least get them steady, it can't be questioned whether or not, that's an act, a showing of goodwill and effort on the part of the Guru. And a lot more than they can usually offer, really.
Yeah.
Do you have an opinion, Kitty?
Kitty
Sorry.
approves. Oh God, it's
My cat needed to co-star, apparently.
the assassin of King Baragos, king of the green grasslands.
Just chilling, hanging out in the background.
Yeah, he's just waiting for yeah. We're surprisingly close to the Fianna Castle.
No, though in a counter to that, while there may not necessarily be a cat, 10 Point Well, as they're settled, and I assume he's got his little finger foods out again and whatnot. Does he?
Oh, sorry, what's out? Sorry, I'm blanking really badly.
Oh, okay, sorry. Does he have like his usual little finger foods and stuff out?
Yeah. Little snacks.
Snackies. So yeah, after saying all this, she will pause briefly to delve into a pocket, like a breast pocket in one of her shirts. She tends to wear kind of, while they're kind of worn looking, it's still an interesting layered style of clothes, and there's many a pocket among them, but in this case she'll reach into a breast pocket and very gingerly, very gently fish out a tiny white mouse who is kind of curled in her palm, blinking its way awake, little whiskers twitching. And she'll transfer him up to actually she'll transfer him down into her lap, and we'll end up taking one of the napkins and one of the little pastries and just kind of setting it there and letting him sniffle at it and see if he's interested.
Oh, I don't have smell of man, so they're still scared of me.
This mouse seems to be doing pretty good because 10 Point doesn't have smell of man either.
So the mouse is very frightened, but food, so it doesn't matter.
This mouse is not a normal mouse. This mouse is chill as fuck.
Yeah, and
He's
perhaps just the
hanging
fact
out.
that these two don't actually have that much rage. Like, one only has 10 Point only has 2, and Jacob only has 3. That's not a huge amount. So maybe this
It
mouse.
may also be the fact that he's capable of doing things like crossing the gauntlet with her and is not in any way a normal mouse.
Yeah, the fact that he's obviously a special mouse.
He's the strangest little snowflake.
Because from this point on, called Jerry.
Hey, don't assume his gender. Jeez.
I
I have no idea whether this mouse is a boy or a girl. It's a mystery.
Little mouse, adorable either way, and
Little mouse buddy.
it's the femshep of mouses, mice.
Yep, little mouse buddy is probably chilling and nibbling on whatever super fancy pastries Jacob has procured.
Yeah, there are these little flavored biscuits. They have like little pink icing and a little like strip of white icing and a pattern around the biscuit. Like, oh my god, the mouse love it.
Yes, little mouse buddy has icing on its whiskers now. He's very pleased.
Oh, where'd you get your friend from?
That is a very good question. I woke up after one of my especially vivid dreams, and it was curled against me when I woke up and has, well, been accompanying me since. And I have looked after it, and it has not seen fit to leave my company.
No.
I choose to consider it a blessing. I hope that Great White Mouse is pleased with what I have been doing.
It's probably why. Most animals don't see fit to come anywhere near us, normally.
Very true. It has made this situation with good King Bragos something of a trial. As much as I might like to go see to his people, most of his people, at least their Tellurian side, would not be equally pleased to be tended. The smell of man is not a gift that I can learn of my own accord.
It's one I haven't spent the time investing in. Might want to at some point in the near future.
Should you be willing, once you have learned it, I would be pleased to earn access to such a spiritual gift.
Sure, if I acquire it, I'll let you know.
She'll give a light nod. So what has your pack been up to, Raya? Besides, I heard of the events of yesterday, at least in passing. There were the howls and the talk among the kinfolk, but little else.
We've been doing, well, we've been looking around for additional pack mates, largely, and aiding some of the other around set of their individual missions. I aided Teresa on her Adrian challenge.
Dare I ask what that entailed?
It's a little bit dark, but I suppose what part of our lives aren't. It's involved hunting down some of the more proactive leeches in the city.
Ah, yes.
I'm familiar with at least two. One has been in the news, was a journalist of some sort. The other was a higher up in their hierarchy. Even paid a visit to the Sept once when I was a cub.
Blink. It came onto the Sept grounds.
Not onto the Sept grounds, but came to the park. Kind of did something akin to a raid. I wasn't there for the whole thing. They had people with some members of, I think it was the Harlem police force or something.
Oh. No, kitty, you can't co-star.
You wants the mouse? No! Get out of here!
Kitty, no.
There's a little kitty cat just meowing. Stray cat on the set ground just kind of meowing off in the distance. It's on a tree, lounging around. Jacob stares at it for a moment.
10.2 has her suspicions.
The cat from the green grasslands.
Little mouse buddy is unconcerned and cleaning icing off its whiskers.
Yeah. But Jacob says, yeah, they're gone now. I'm amazed there was only the group of 4. Well, I say group of 4. They also had, I'm not really sure what to call it. We had to go through several obstacles, one of which was clearly some sort of horrific flesh-crafted entity made up of at least a dozen innocent people. And they'd done the same, but kept them apart, basically making us go through about many different variations of cannon fodder. Then we got to a massive door underground underneath a cathedral. After heading partway through what seemed to be something integral. We went to a cathedral, went under it. It seemed to be integrated part of the sewer system, so we had to do a bit of swimming. Or something like that. And,
If you were under there, did you by chance see anything while you were down there?
we saw a lot of things. What in particular?
I was in the city seeing to some chiminage a little over a month ago, and I found myself forced to go through the sewers to get out again. And while I was down there, I could have sworn I saw something. It was, at first I just saw in the dark, just this very brief glimpse of eyes and teeth. And then I lost it again. So I made myself still. I stilled my breathing. I listened. I watched. And I finally heard something moving away from me, but it was a very lucky spot and very unnerving.
could have been any number of creatures down there. They had alligators.
It was easily the size of a man, Raya.
Then it was most likely one of their flesh-crafted creations.
She like gives this little shudder, like ugh.
Some of them are leeches that have had their bodies changed in some way. Some are people they've bound with their blood who they've done similar things to.
But then why would it move away from me, Raya? I thought certainly it would attack me, whatever it was, but it did not. I didn't have my antlers. I had to be able to walk in the city. Fairly sure. Can't remember. I think I was in Hamid. I couldn't have looked like much of a threat.
There is one very specific kind of leech that stays underground, and they're quite cagey. Then they might have not considered it worth the risk. That's if you saw a leech. It could have been... Probably not, though.
And just for clarification, just to impress the OOC aspect of this was like a Div 10 spot check. Like, it was an extremely lucky spot in the pitch black of the fucking sewer.
They did have their flesh-crafted creations walking around. Of course, it might not have been anything leech-related at all, but...
All the same, I'm thankful it lost interest, Raya, but be mindful if you end up down there again, or know anyone else who might. There is something there.
Anyways, after we made it past all of the obstacles, we basically had to wait 5 hours because we couldn't break down through the bloody door because it was a massive... It was like a vault door, but about 3 times as dense. And we had to wait for them to open a door at night. And they came out with, well, it's just a single pack of them. I was expecting a small army behind the door. That's usually what lies behind such fortifications. Usually these types of leeches, a lot of them sleep communally in large structures. I was expecting at least a dozen of them, but fortunately we only got the 4 plus a... Well, I'm calling it a wereleech because there isn't really any other word for it.
Blink.
It was a Garu that had been embraced and turned into a vampire.
Here's another very blatant, like, kind of sympathetic shudder.
Other Garu had been in that area before us, and many of them had been slain. Ambushed, most likely. In a lab where they performed experiments of sorts. But when we got there, it had been trashed, largely. There were video recordings, but that was largely it. We got rid of everything else. One of them, however, we saw in the recordings had been what it's called when someone is turned into a leech is called in and he quotes kindred as what they call themselves. Terminology is the embrace. Most of us usually don't survive it because we're sped. It's incompatible with us.
Good.
But there are known exceptions to that rule. And this one had been, unfortunately, one of those. But he has been freed now. And all those leeches are ash on the ground. Although I think we got rather lucky. We should have faced a lot more and we didn't.
I wouldn't look down on good luck. Right.
No, it was just one of the rougher operations I've been through. In the sense that perhaps it wasn't the most well directed. But we succeeded, so that's better than most situations. And no one suffered any casualties either, so all in all, we came out definitely on the better end of things, despite the chaos of the situation.
Definitely fair fortune then.
Other than that, I've been trying to grab a hold of a wormfoe. Try to find out exactly what's been going on with the config situation, why things happen the way they did, so they can't happen again. Because I prefer to tackle the root of this problem.
Have you spoken to the warder?
No, I've been trying to get to the wormfoe first because he's the one that issued the order, but I intend to speak with him as well. I've been trying to get a hold of both the warder, the wormfoe, and another official on Sept, so that we can ensure that situations like this do not reoccur. Because what happened with all the kinfolk being trapped on Sept was not acceptable. As 10 Point sets her tea on the table.
She does. I have no doubt, Raya, that you will get to the bottom of it.
If someone doesn't, I will.
May I ask your opinion, Raya, on something of a touchy subject?
Sure.
I have gone through much with my packmates, with my Rayas, and they have taught me a good deal. And lately, on the matter of keeping secrets, particularly from Pack, Tamer of Dragons Rayas made it very clear how he feels about such things. But I do still have one thing that I have not been forthright with. And it is because while the chiminage serves to protect the pack and is something that I do in their best interest, I think that perhaps if they knew the nature of the chiminage, one or more would find it offensive. And I am unsure whether it is wise to enlighten them to the chiminage I perform on the basis that they might misunderstand it or be offended. Were I unlucky and they took real offense, I could see myself ousted from my pack. And I am at a loss. I have been very open. I've told them everything that I can think of that might give them advantage, that might aid them in some way that they might wish to know, except this. I would be more frank, Raya, but I think that you two might find the actions somewhat deplorable.
She kind of sits back and thinks, perks him up a little bit. He looks a little bit how to say, less tired just because you kind of caught his attention. He says,
A little more focused.
yeah, a little more focused.
It doesn't breach the litany by a long shot and does not deal any offense to the spirits, but it might still be offensive to those who knew the details. Raya.
Generally speaking, I generally find an advantage to be an advantage. Obviously, we're both aware some lines that exist, and we have our own, how to say, our own philosophical codes that impacts what we do and how we perceive things.
That would be where the rub lies, I think.
Was this your choice? Then was it one you made alone?
This is a deal that I made on my own, and the advantage for the pack is undeniable. I don't know how often you walk by our cabin in the Umbra, Raya, but there's a reason that pigeons seem to flock to the roof. Keep an eye.
And the cost would be largely, would it be tied simply to yourself, or
It is an action that I must do for them, a favor that I do in exchange once a month, to earn another month of watchful eyes and open ears.
would you be able to tell me if that negatively affected anyone, or is it merely a task that impacts only yourself?
It is a task that is hard for me, but achievable, but could be seen as offensive. Though, as far as I'm aware, the spirits have no reason to take events that might have been involved. I do not, it requires me to go into the city and to take an action. It does not draw attention, does not break the veil, but I think that those who would sympathize with it could be seen as personally offensive to you or my beta, Raya. Though I can guarantee that with the proper rites, no offense is taken by the associated spirits.
When you say associated spirits, do you mean to include my tribal spirits as well? Just for clarification.
She kind of purses her lips on that. And I mean, the obvious answer is yes, because her subterfuge is zilch, but she's obviously uncomfortable with actually providing that answer.
Because you seem to have, when it comes to bargains and particularly chimonage, I find the three most important things to be where and who the debt would lie with, what the action being taken would be, and who it impacts and how.
It should have no negative impact on my beta. Not even necessarily against myself. I go through all the proper steps to ensure that no ill will comes of it. But once emotions and pride are involved, Raya, sometimes the bald facts of the matter are not enough.
Because from what you've told me so far, at least, is that, well, considering events in the past, very recent events in the past, you've made sure that that only affects yourself.
And she gives a nod.
I've taken pains to make sure that acting on this debt does not negatively impact anyone else.
Another nod.
And you've ensured that the debt itself can actually be paid within a reasonable fashion and time frame, which I'm looking at it from a rather pragmatic, business-like perspective, in that I don't think I personally would have any. I can't really see anything to take issue with. Unless the action involved is truly heinous, something like like straight murder of an individual, of an innocent person, or something like that. I know that sounds very radical. That's just an example. Of course, blood chimage is a real thing that exists.
There's kind of that little almost relieved smile at the idea. I am afraid I am no manhunter, Raya. It requires more skill than I have.
Oh no, don't worry. That's a relief. But you've made sure this action doesn't impact anyone but yourself, so it feels like you're handling this in a very responsible fashion that shouldn't really be a concern for the rest of the pack. At least in a sense, it's not. The debt doesn't impact them, and they get a strong advantage from it, or at least one that is noticeable.
One that ensures that there is no use of spirits and ill will against my Rayas. Or at least that if it happens, we know.
Yeah, and yeah, you've taken pains to make sure that this impacts you. Another way to put it would be you're shouldering the burden yourself, so it doesn't. There isn't ill will. There isn't. People aren't negatively impacted by this, but do get a positive impact from this, which, from perhaps the colder eyes of a pragmatist, would be considered a win-win. But even if I were to look at it from a more of course, it would vary depending on the action somewhat, but from my perspective, it would take something fairly significant to earn my offense. Because you've made sure that this chimnage, even if it were to go wrong, could only negatively impact yourself.
Of course.
But have also made sure it positively impacts everyone else, which is, well,
which is Thayer's duty, Raya.
Exactly. You've handled the chimnage well, and have minimized cause or reason for offense to begin with. So in theory, there shouldn't be any.
It is something of a sticking point lately, my honesty, or lack thereof. And I worry, because while this can do them no harm, knowing about it could certainly do me harm. After all, I know how fortunate I am to have a pack that is willing to work with me and to teach me and to keep me in the right. I don't know what I would do if I did not have them. And if a grievous enough offense was made, I could see myself packless.
You don't have to tell me. I know you've avoided doing so. I just find myself curious about what sort of action would have you ousted from your pack if you've taken such measures to ensure there's there's little ill will as possible.
It is not a matter necessarily of sensible reaction, Raya. We were all raised among the Fianna. We are passionate people. Even my beta feels very strongly at times. And this is a case where that passion over the subject could end poorly for me. Hey,
Well,
does out of curiosity, does um Jacob ever attend the shrine of Great White Mouse? Really? Like
from
Umberside?
from time to time, yeah, on the odd occasion. He's kind of busy everywhere else right now, so he's probably only been there like once or twice, or kind of given it a casual look over for a few minutes, like a week or twice a week or something. It's not a regular thing for him. But
All
he's been
right,
there.
then just for lols, to kind of decide whether he would have noted it or not
Okay.
among the other offerings that would have been left there. Let me set up a little Discord.
Yeah. What one do you want to use?
Um, oh god, my brain. Helps if I'm in the dice rollers. Okay. Is this one open now? It is. I have no idea what that is. I will put it in Werewolf. So do like a perception alertness, and I'd say give yourself like diff 8 to spot it among all the other offerings, or take note of it among all the other offerings.
Yeah, sure. Sorry. Okay. Yep. 9, 6, 8. There we go. Oh,
Oh.
watch it. 2 degrees, man. That's
Okay,
bad.
then he would not have noticed it, which is probably a good thing all in all.
Okay.
I will let you know out of character in case you do go play there again and want to like roll for lulls to see if he happens to spot it. There's a number of offerings left to Great White Mouse. Like I am sure that shrine and chimeras are covered with all sorts of little things that have been left, but among those all, it may or may not be a falcon skull with a Celtic mouse engraved into it.
Ah.
So I will let you roll for that instead of giving it to you, since the reaction could be pretty violent.
Yeah.
Besides, I think it'd be really funny if you're in a completely different scene that happens to be at the shrine, make that roll for lols, and then go, "What the
I
fuck?"
will. What the? Ah, God damn it. um. Well, Jacob will just continue. Well,
But yes, for the moment, yeah, he wouldn't be able to put two and two together because he has not spotted the thingy.
yeah. As much as it's your responsibility as a Fjord to manage this chimney in a responsible fashion, it's also, especially one of my auspice, to temper their judgment or temper their passions and handle their judgments in a responsible fashion.
And perhaps, Raya, if it does come out, I may call on you to help me.
You can. If things get too heated, you can come to me and I'll counsel over the matter and make sure everything is handled with more level heads, shall we say. I don't want you to wind up with I don't want you to be given a cruel decree or anything that would be considered unfair. Especially from what you've told me, you sound like you've handled this very well. So, and if you've managed to pass it off of my spirits, then there really shouldn't be any problem.
I have seen no ill will as of yet, Raya, and if it came down to it, I know enough to separate myself from my pack as much as necessary to ensure there's no blowback.
Just make sure to have all your bases covered.
I have done as much as a Theurge can do.
It's good to hear. But yeah, if worst comes to worst, just come find me and I'll settle the issue for you. I'll make sure the blowback isn't too harsh.
Thank you, Raya. So you are aware, onto somewhat less troubling subjects, I suppose. In regards to King Bragos, I have spoken to Felix Raya on the matter, and we have several actions we may take to try to get to the bottom of what is happening. He has mentioned speaking to the spirit that represents the city, as it is upset as well about similar issues. But we may also take outings into the city to visit the shelters so that I can make the attempt to sense the worm and perhaps find a place where these cruel actions are being taken. Because from what I understand, they have not changed hands yet, but there are already ill effects, and several spirits have returned to the king worm tainted and had to be put down. So there is already some place where these things are being done. If we are lucky, we may find it. We will also seek allies for the spirits on the matter so that they can hopefully aid us in pursuing the issue.
Yes, I think that'd be well advised. I'm not too caught up on the details regarding the situation regarding the good King Bragos and his realm.
From what I understand, it comes down to that O'Toole's business, whatever it is a worm-touched corporation. And they have made a move to try to acquire both the jets, whatever they are, and the animal shelters within the city. And apparently, whether they have succeeded or not yet, there's already the spirit of the city that is enraged over the sports team, and there are animal spirits, those of domesticated pets, that have been tainted and twisted. So there's already something going awry, whether or not they have succeeded. So there is both the issue in the Tellurian of assuring that they do not take ownership of these, and in the Umbra of the side effects of them attempting to do so and what would happen if they did.
Mm.
From what I understand, the whole purpose of the king's visit is to draw attention to this problem and ensure that his citizens, the animals of New York, are safe.
Well, I noticed, well, actually, then something I should probably note to you is that we found a mobile phone on the person of, I believe it was Chloe's mother, who was in a conversation with an individual regarding O'Tooleys.
Oh?
So Chloe knows much more about that than I. But that's something you may wish to speak with her about. I'll have a chat with her later, and I'll pass that information on to you and Felix if it happens to be relevant. If nothing else, it affirms what we already knew.
There's a nod. Perhaps, Raya, while you are working so hard to find places of work, if there are any kin who might work at the shelters, might take up those jobs, or who are in veterinary work, ones that could report back to us if anything seems strange. It would give them both a job and put them in an advantageous place to help us with the problem. From what I understand, those places are mostly worked by volunteers, but those who work in a more managerial sense are given paid work and would probably have a better eye on what was going on in the building.
Yeah, no, I'll look into that for you. That's what we can do.
Much appreciated, Ryan.
Yeah. Still just a few extra hurdles to climb and things should be reach a more manageable pace.
And then perhaps you'll start sleeping again, Raya. She kind of grins over the teacup.
Yeah, I've been pretty exhausted recently.
I hear sleep is good for you, Raya. Just to put it out there.
I've just had to, I don't know, there's been a lot with kinfolk going on and I need to round everyone up. And then, I mean, it doesn't help that people at the protest provoked the situation. I got to deal with elder packs with freaking spirals, and now I'm moving on to second chance plastics. And I've got to hold on to the job on top of that.
Were you with us for that, Raya?
No, Catch has been filling me in. I'm going to see what I can do from a more... She mentioned bioweapon banes, so I'm going to be looking at that because...
They are nothing to joke about, Raya. They are incredibly toxic. They are incredibly contagious, and when they pass from one person to another, they leave that husk prepared to accept a bane. They are the seeds for Fomori, and they will move through a crowd. If that place is making, say, bottles for water, and they have their touch in all of those plastics, you can imagine what would happen. Everyone who drinks from one of those and then passes it on to everyone near them. It could become very bad very fast. That in the first time we went out there, we'd heard there were smog banes, but we never got so close. There were shattered hearts, Raya, on the outskirts of that place. Fianna spirits that were completely corrupted.
I would do a bit of police work on that, but I've had so much focus on the kinfolk issues.
Of course. Well, from the way it looks, the plan was to use that barge to get those banes into the plastics. And from what I understand, those sharks, whatever they were, that were in the river, are the ones who took it down before it could get there to stop the things from getting from point A to point B.
Mm.
And with us dealing with them on the shore, we've stopped only one attempt to get them there. There may be more.
If the accident was engineered to bypass port authorities, didn't that suggest something in there is not legal? We can.
I didn't see if there was some Tellurian tie to the tainted spirits. So if there was something in there that would have been a key to people, Tellurian side, that would have kept it from getting there, all the better. But I worry more that these spirits will hide them in amidst the garbage, even through official means, and get in there and taint everything that's produced by that factory.
Mm. Even if there's, even if it's Tellurian wise, lawful material, then there are ways to resolve it. We'll find some way to deal with it. I was going to do a bit of investigation with Katche, so
She gives a little nod.
I'll join you on that.
I suppose if worse comes to worse, there can always be the usual solution of leaving a building in flames, but at least in this, perhaps with Talate's help, we might have allies in the water. The enemy of my enemy makes for strange allies, but
Something.
any advantage is a good advantage, Raya.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm really tired. I'm blanking out on you a little bit.
It's all right. You know, you might consider, even if you have a few hours to yourself during the day, if you wanted, you could come lay on the rock with me, and I'll play for you. You could catch some sleep. Some is better than none.
That's sweet of you, thanks.
She nods a bit.
This isn't the first time this has happened to me.
But if you let duty drive you into the ground, there'll be nothing left of you to give.
Mm.
Whether it is sleep in bits during the day, whether it is sleep at night. Whatever suits what you need to do. I'll help any way I can.
Thanks, Standpoint. That's really thoughtful of you. Kind of rubs his eyes a little bit, try and keep himself kind of. I'm still here. Look.
And seeing as her tea's set aside, now here's the real question: are they chairs or are they rockers? Are they all comfy and rocky?
I'll say they're all comfy and rocky.
Perfect. That seeing as she has finished with her tea and he's already starting to kind of nod, and as far as she can tell, there's nothing that needs his attention right now. Hopefully he has some time set aside to simply have his tea and have a couple hours to himself. So she'll reach down into the swag and will extract the violin case and lean herself back in the seat a bit and prop it under her chin and probably start playing for him, seeing as he's already on the verge of nodding off. See if she can lull him for a bit and let him catch a little bit of shut-eye.
Roll your performance.
Okie dokie.
Be the best.
I'm gonna be an asshole and spend a willpower on it. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yep. 1, 2, 3. So 4 with the willpower.
Nice. Yeah. Jacob kind of leans back in his chair. It gives you the sweetest smile he's given you all day.
Oh, he's so sleepy.
He's so sleepy. And over time, it doesn't take you too long. It's like, what, probably like 5 to 10 minutes of playing?
Oh yeah, and she'll stay even after he passes out and continue playing. Because if nothing else, maybe it'll slow someone down who wants to come and interrupt or wake him up or snag him for something if they see that he is engaged. So she will remain on the porch for as long as possible before one of them is absolutely needed. And just continue idly playing, enjoying herself, and getting poor Jacob a nap.
You give Jacob a sweet nap.
Little nappies. So I suppose with that, we will say thank you, players, for playing, and watchers for watching, and we will see you next time on the Living World of Darkness, Tea Time Across New York.